Hello, welcome to the Power of Africa 2022. My name is Efosa Abel Omoibi, and I'm your host for today's discussion. I am a senior software engineer and architect from Nigeria with over 17 years of programming experience. I enjoy using technology to deliver solutions to companies of various sizes. I also have remarkable guests sitting on this panel with me to discuss our topic, harnessing tech to empower entrepreneurs in Africa to solve problems. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest to this panel. So I'd like to start with the first guest, Alan Not Craig. Alan, you're welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks again for the invitation to be on the panel. My name's Alan Not Craig. I'm from South Africa. I'm an entrepreneur in the internet telecom space. I've been involved in 20 or 30 companies in the last 20 years. And I'm focused right now on bringing affordable internet into low-income communities in South Africa.
Interesting. Thank you. All right. So our next guest on this list is Jacqueline Makarokondo. She's also a CEO and entrepreneur. Jacqueline, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Mkarukondo. I'm a young entrepreneur based from Rwanda. I'm co-founder and chief marketing officer at WasteZone, a company which connects recycling actors and waste producers through mobile application, specifically for electronic products.
Interesting. You're welcome. All right. So my next guest is Sydney's called Sam. Sydney is from Ghana. Sydney, you're welcome to this panel. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sydney Sam from Ghana. I lead a team called Workspace, a talent platform that is helping small African businesses to compete globally using high-quality, affordable branding. Great to be here.
Interesting. Thank you all so much for that wonderful introduction. It was great to hear from three of you. All right, so I think we should just get into the meat of this conversation. We have our topic to discuss, harnessing tech to empower entrepreneurs in Africa to solve problems. Okay, so I think I'll just start with Alan. Alan, I'm interested. I mean, it's actually interesting to hear takes on what we think are constraints for Africa entrepreneurs.
Where do we start? Now we've got some big challenges if you want to start a business in South Africa, never mind outside of South Africa. One of the big constraints is government interference. Another one is legal, or the lack thereof, legal infrastructure. Maybe one of the bigger ones is just kind of how do you get money out of the customer's hands? How do you make it easy to pull customers and get your money? And then having a relationship of trust also, if you're trying to sell something and trying to buy something, making sure you're getting what you wanted and you're getting your money in return. But probably the number one thing for any African entrepreneur is how to raise capital. I mean, that's actually what everybody asks, is how do they raise capital in order to fund their business?
Oh, that's interesting. So, I mean, I think in the list of what you just mentioned, government stake is actually one of the top notch, I guess. No,
Sorry,
they say from the scale of what you mentioned, government stake is one of the biggest challenges, I would presume.
So do you want me to elaborate on that or?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is the list you mentioned is endless. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole long list, but I see from some of the discussions I find in the public domain, I say government take is the one of the strongest on the list, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, man, I'm sure it's the same where you live, but I mean, as soon as the government gets involved, it's a disaster. And but it's the same in Germany as well. Like if you're living anywhere in the world, the government just messes your life up. We are actually quite lucky here because our government is pretty incompetent. So they try to interfere, but they actually find themselves not able to do that. And the truth is, for me at least, the kind of idea that we're going to wait for the government to save us and kind of educate everyone and create jobs and grow the economy that's never going to happen. So, entrepreneurs are going to have to do it for themselves. And the nice thing is, like, the more internet infrastructure that's deployed, the more possible it is for people just to do what they want to do without having to wait for the government to save them. That's my personal opinion, and kind of focus is trying to get internet infrastructure out so that we don't have to rely on the government.
Yeah, thanks for that elaboration. Okay, so let me move to you, Jacqueline. Jacqueline, I'm wondering, when it comes to the state of technology in Africa, and I'm just thinking what your take is. How do you think entrepreneurs can actually, they are faring currently, in a post-pandemic world?
So, so when we are talking about what the state of technology currently, so today, at least the quarter of population has been having access to the internet. And because of that, the economic potential has been enormously. And the data has been shown that people have mobile technology all alone, which has already generated 1.7 million jobs, which contributed to 144 billion US dollars to the continent and improved GPA to 8.5%. So having access to the technology has been the potential to supporting hybrid working environment for entrepreneurs, and even not only for entrepreneurs, but also for the government. Like previously, the article wrote by World Health Organization, they shows that 13% of all new modified technology developed to respond to COVID-19 in Africa has been really processing economic development to African countries. Like in Ghana, like they authorized COVID-19 tracker app, and they used zipline drones to deliver test kits COVID. And another example, like in Rwanda, they have used robots to the airport for the COVID protocol. They have implemented cashless economy, which can support entrepreneurs to exchange money through mobile money, through ATM cards. And now people has been able to process and continue doing their business during social distance economy. So this is how I believe the current state of technology has supported in this moment of hybrid working environment. Like at the moment, you're doing a conference via using app technologies, Zoom and everything else. So the technology we have at the moment in Africa, it's not good enough, but at the moment there has, due to COVID-19, the improvement has been showcased to how it has supported economy and all the country in general, and even entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Interesting. So quite some challenges we know, but what you've elaborated is that it means that even in the course of the times, no matter how bad the time is, people become innovative. People want to think outside of the box to be able to do wonderful things. So I like that take on the number of technologies that we built, the robots built, and all of the checks and balances they have for the COVID-19. All right, so I think that's interesting, Jacqueline. So let me just move to our other panel member, Sydney Scott. Welcome again, but I'd like to just ask you, I want to know your take on what you think about learning being, how learning is actually used basically to harness to enhance traditional agencies and basically to help improve tech-based systems.
Okay, I'll take that. So I understand that you're asking what learnings I've been able to derive from pivoting from a traditional agency to a tech-based platform.
Absolutely.
Yes. So it's interesting because I run a brick and mortar business for about 5 years, being a branding agency in Ghana, serving a lot of customers across the country. And during the COVID pandemic, we pivoted to become a tech platform. Due to both need, but also the vision of the company to be able to support Africans across the continent. Now, my big learnings from that, making that move first, is I do really encourage entrepreneurs to focus on building a machine. And when I say a machine, I don't necessarily mean a metallic machine, but just generally that in business, sometimes you can focus on doing the work, or you can focus on building the machine or the systems or the processes that do the work. And that's something that not many entrepreneurs think about from the early stages. They usually, if you have a service or you have an idea, you just go straight to creating whatever that is for 1, 2, 3, 4 customers. But when you realize that your customer starts growing, you wish you had started by focusing on the processes that allowed you to deliver consistently, sustainably. The second thing I've also learned is the value of automations, especially in the world that we live in today. Capital and cash is hard to come by. So it's really important that you don't use all your funding or your money or your capital to hire staff that sometimes can bleed out your funds over time, especially if you're not making business or doing business fast enough. So it's important to be able to cut back on certain tasks by automating them, finding software tools, finding technology advancements that simplify how to do some of these things and make sure that these things are done repeatedly, to ensure that you need less people to do a lot more work. And automations have really changed my life, and it's something that I would recommend everyone to look into. And the last thing is also that we've now had limited market access. Now that we're a technology company, previously we were limited to working with people that we could touch, people's offices that we could go to. But now that we're a tech company, we can now extend our work to East Africa, to Southern Africa, to other countries in West Africa, and even beyond Africa, because our work is fundamentally tech-based and on the internet. So these are some of my major learnings pivoting into a tech platform company. Thank you.
Oh, interesting. But I'd like you to just elaborate more. I mean, there's an interesting take when it comes to automation. People are always scared of automation, and they're very scared of it. They want to say, if you bring in technology to do this job, you're actually replacing us. So what do you say to people that have those kinds of opinions?
So I would say it in two contexts. Number one, all business people or business, the world of business is always looking for ways to be more efficient. So once you think about it that way, if you're supporting your business to be more efficient, you would lean towards automation because that helps save money, save time, just generally even help the staff who are there. Now, the beautiful thing is that human beings are flexible. Okay, we can learn new things, we can expand, we can adopt new methods. Okay, so it's important for everyone who's in the working world to continuously evolve towards where the world is going. So you don't have to be afraid of automations. You could even be the one who learns how to automate the things that you already know how to do. You get what I mean? So once you have that mindset, allow yourself to grow and embrace where the world is going, because efficiency is always the best way.
Wow, that's interesting. So before I go back to my next video, I just wanted to know if any one of the panel members would like to just have any special take on automation, just like Sydney has said. Alan, I don't know if you have some interesting take too that you think we can learn from. Alan, can you hear me? Yeah, concerning automation and the power of automation, as Sydney has alluded to. I'm thinking if you have any interesting take that you'd like to share with us regarding how people are afraid of automation, because you're bringing in internet reach to a lot of people right now in Africa, right? And you're thinking of empowering homes with it. So people can either fear technology automation or they can embrace technology automation, right? So I'd like to just hear your take on that.
Sorry, I mean, it's quite a bad connection. It keeps breaking up. But yeah, I got the gist of that. I'm no guru when it comes to how the world gets automated the way Sydney was explaining. But I mean, in a small way, having access to the internet means you can access blockchain technology, and things like digital identity and payments, particularly payments. Actually, that is fundamentally what blockchain is doing, is revolutionizing how governments can kind of give you an ID number and kind of give you a physically your actual identity, as well as make it easier to move money around without relying on the government to print money or authorize payments, etc. So maybe that's automation, not sure what it is, but it certainly is taking friction out of your life, making you less reliant on the state, and making it a little bit easier to trade, whether you're buying or selling goods. And I kind of always come back to that in the end of the day. I mean, I think even education takes a backseat to making money. Like you need to have money washing through the system. You need the economy growing for everything else to be empowered. And in my opinion, things like the blockchain, which are enabled by internet access, are great like levers for taking away some of that friction.
That's interesting. Thank you for that take. So, but I'd like to also ask, what do you think are the most important business challenges that Africa entrepreneurs face?
I think it's payments. If I just think of my own experience here in South Africa, the informal economy, the economy that nobody taxes and you can't record, is much bigger than the formal economy. And we have an enormous formal economy. And the reason that informal economy is not part of the system or being seen or necessarily monetized is because it's very difficult to make small payments using the traditional finance sector. So, things are kind of happening in cash or barter, and that's a massive limiter in terms of what is, how much money there's potential, money-making potential there is in the economy. So, thing again like blockchain technology, where you can almost tokenize things like airtime or electricity, and you can use that to move around and kind of monetize, commodities like that and utilities like that. Probably the single biggest lever. That if we could take that lever away, like they did in Kenya with M-Pesa, if you can make an M-Pesa work in countries around the continent, that by itself would probably make the biggest difference, just from what I can tell in the kind of informal economies in South Africa.
Interesting. That's a very nice thing. Okay, let me move on to Jacqueline. Jacqueline, information technology is there's a lot of innovation right now, and Africa wants to solve these problems, right? So, and pressing challenges around the world, basically. I'm thinking, how do you think we can use technology to solve major problems around the world right now? I mean, applying technology to be able to solve some of those problems we have around the world.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay, now I'm talking about ICT and its implementations, basically, and also innovations that follow. So I'm asking what do you think can be done to actually solve problems, in using application of various technologies to be able to solve problems around the world stage, basically, right now? How can we apply technology to solve the problems?
So I think when we are talking about technology, the first things which come in our mind, it's infrastructure, because technology goes hands in hands with infrastructure. Internet goes in hands with cable internet. So what I think must be done is infrastructure for all, not only for urban area, but also for minor community, like people from second cities or rural areas, to also be access to the technology. Because one thing we have seen in Africa is that young Africans, they're very talented and they're very innovative. Like what we constantly seeing in the news, we are seeing how people are turning waste into bricks. Like for us, how we are taking in charge electronic waste, where we believe that by connecting recycling actors from European countries to waste producers in Africa, they can be able to exchange electronic waste into turning into it from something which is variable, like implementing circular economy and recycling behavior. So I believe that technology goes in hands with infrastructure, where we believe that it has like the component solution to the problem we are facing currently. Like, as I give an example, in Rwanda, Rwanda had a partnership with USA Zipline for using drones to deliver bloods to the patients in the hospitals. That's like a quick support to the people who are very in need. And also, so one thing which is really needed is capital, like financial support, but also skills. Like in Africa, we have seen how there is brain, how do they call it? There is this way young Africa goes to study in Western countries, USA or in Europe, but they stay there. How can they come back in Africa to implement what they learned for the development of Africa? Because we cannot wait to keep on talking about African rising when we don't have young talents, Africans, to come back and implement what they learned from Western Africa. So that's why we need financial support. We need skills from young people who are going to bring education from West Africa, but also we need the public and private partnership or collaboration together for the implementation of technology in the solving of the challenge which are happening in Africa currently. Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. So you're saying that we do not focus on draining the brains that are in Africa, but instead asking them to come back and actually develop the bricks of Africa, to put Africa on the global stage. Because that's what all right.
Yeah, reduction of brain drain. Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right. So, Sydney, I mean, I know you talked about automation. You talked about automation before. You elaborated very strongly on that, and I'm also sure that our participants in this conference, right, are interested in learning about how to get into the technology space. Okay, so I'd like you to just share some light on how you think African entrepreneurs can break into the tech.
So, I mean, I'd like to articulate this in 4 key points, 4 key tips for anyone who's looking to break into the space. The first thing is we have an idea, a false idea, that when you're breaking into the tech space, you need a very fancy tech product, and most people think of the tech space as I'm going to create an app or I'm going to create a platform. But I always say start by understanding how to create value for one person for profit, right? Tech is it's an advancement of something that already exists. It's not everything that it is, okay? So the reason why technology is useful is because it helps us. If technology didn't help us, nobody would care about technology. So it's the same thing about your tech business. Your tech business needs to solve a problem. Usually for one person, I would start out with just one person and figure out how to make profit doing that. Once you're able to do that, then you invest, as we discussed, automation, so that it helps harness and make it sustainable, and then you can scale it. So that's usually how to set up a tech business, using technology to solve this problem, to create value, automate it, and then you scale. The second thing is don't underestimate the value of research and long continual product development. Okay, the product development process is a very interesting thing, because even big companies like Google are still in the product development process, if you get what I mean. So it just gives you an idea of how it takes to perfect the product, like that your tech product that you're putting on the market. Okay, so ask questions for who you want to support, who you want to deliver to. Okay, and then when you are building your product or your tech platform or your whatever the innovation is, keep asking for feedback and keep correcting. Okay, don't think that I'm going to build my products in 6 months and then launch it. It doesn't work that way. You build a little bit, you ask questions, you get people to try it out, and then you continue building. So that's so don't underestimate that process. Just to segue from that, please live on feedback. Don't be idealistic, because you are not your customer. Okay, Most people think because I understand how to deliver the value, I am the customer. You are not the customer. You are the supplier. You ask the customer what works, so it's very important that you understand that. And then the final thing is that you need to understand that everything you do can be framed as a product. Okay, everything you do. So I always give an example that if I thought about if I'm a barber shop, okay, what do we do at the barber shop? We cut hair, okay. But if I could create a barber shop or a barbering product, right, which could probably be a $10 subscription, right, for students to be able to come to the barber shop twice in a month. Now that is a product. You get what I mean? And that's what businesses are selling. So even if you are delivering a service, if you're delivering, something that is intangible, always think about it from the perspective that you should be able to create it into a product for a unique kind of person. Because you realize that even though maybe you're selling barbering, I'm using barbering even though it's not in the tech context. You are a barber for students, you're a barber for young workers, you're a barber for the older generation. You get what I mean? And you can create different products, even though they are all the same thing for those different markets. And that's how you need to approach tech. Okay, so these are just my tips, and I hope it's been helpful for our crowd.
Wow, that's some great and interesting point. I guess some of the points you mentioned are also embedded in the basic, the building blocks of agile methodology, basically. And people should iterate over a product. They should, and they should do the planning process and don't expect everything to be fine or perfect before you get out there and you solve a problem for one person. You can actually solve problems for a whole lot of people, or probably a whole market, as it were. All right, so this has been very wonderful and interesting discussion. So I'd like everyone to just, maybe just give a summary of what you think we can do to be able to harness tech to empower entrepreneurs in Africa to solve problems. So I'd like to just hear briefly on your take. I think I'd like to start with Alan. Alan, please, let's just hear your take.
I missed about half of that. That's like very bad signal coming on my side. We've got load shedding in South Africa, by the way. It's because the government can't give us electricity. So I've got bad signal. Just say that again.
Okay, I'll repeat that again. Thanks. Okay, so I'm saying that, I just want us to summarize briefly on how we can harness tech to empower entrepreneurs in Africa to solve problems. I mean, we've got quite a number of them. So I just want to hear your take on the summary base. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not entirely sure I know the answer to that question. I just have this feeling that most of the reason we're not creating enough internet entrepreneurs in Africa is because there's not enough people on the internet in Africa. Like it's more a question of like the market, the total addressable market's not big enough. That's part of the reason America produces these entrepreneurs and China produces these entrepreneurs in Europe, because they've got so many people using the internet in those places. And until you've got enough people online in the African context, literally using internet in an uncapped way, not thinking about the cost, you're not really going to have the critical mass you need to build a big internet business. So if you want to be an internet entrepreneur, and I mean, all things being equal, people can figure out how to make money online by themselves. They don't need any teaching. I mean, YouTube makes it easy to sell advertising. Everybody's making it easy to empower yourself and make money. It's just a question of access and your local market. So, if you're targeting a local niche market that doesn't exist in America, you need a lot of people on the internet for that market to make money for you. So, I mean, the biggest constraint from what I can tell is firstly access to the internet. And then, if you want to take money out of the hands of people, get them to pay for content, some form of, like an M-Pesa equivalent for most countries in Africa is kind of missing. And then, of course, access to capital. So, even if you've got all of that, you probably still need to raise some capital. I don't know. I have no answer to that question. Please don't phone me and ask me for money if you're listening to this. It's difficult to raise money as an entrepreneur. But that is actually a great advantage in our world because we don't have a lot of competition. If you do manage to raise enough capital, you actually have a far more kind of open playing field than if you're living in America, where everybody's got lots of capital.
That's quite some beautiful answers. I mean, you probably have answered for a lot of people. Well, okay, so that's interesting. So I'm Jacqueline. Basically, I think I'd like to also hear your take on what you think we can do to empower entrepreneurs in Africa to solve problems. On a summary note, so we can maybe wrap up on this question, basically.
Yeah, I think what's really needed, as I said above, is just collaboration, partnership between public and private individuals. Because we can't do Power of Africa only alone. We just need ownership to both individuals, public and private. And as Alan said, obviously, financial support, capitals, and other important support entrepreneurs can be able to get so that they can advance their innovation and take creativity to the next level in Africa. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. So it's all about how we embrace technology. Basically, I would say we're already embracing technology. People are actually doing enormously well in Africa, except that we're stepping on different processes. And like Alan explained Sydney explained the other time, was that we should actually maintain a step-by-step process. You have to do the product development. I think quick one from you, Sydney, please. I think you should just give us maybe more like a summary on maybe harnessing tech to empower entrepreneurs in Africa to solve problems.
Maybe mine might not be a summary, but just a little word of motivation, which is something that I've learned. Though we have a lot of challenges as tech entrepreneurs or as entrepreneurs in general, but I believe that the entrepreneurs are the army that Africa needs. The governments have done their best, international organizations have done their best, but the people who are consistently driving change are entrepreneurs in Africa. And you're doing it for the right reasons, you're solving problems, and you can continually be motivated to keep doing it because you get paid for it, right? So I just want you to have that in mind, that you are an important part of the African ecosystem and just essential for the development. And also what you may not know is that the world is kind of rooting for you, so it's just important for you to put yourself out there, with every achievement that you make, publicize it, indicate the problems that you're facing, and you'll be surprised at the number of people who rally to support you and just help you reach your goals. So that's just my little bit of motivation that I wanted to share to everyone in the audience. Thanks so much.
Wow, that's interesting. So on that note, I think we have come to the end of this program, Power of Africa 2022. I'd like to thank Alan Craig for your wonderful take, and it was a nice insight that you gave us. And Jacqueline Makarokondo, I think I pronounced it well this time. And also Sydney. So it was so many interesting takes from you guys, and thank you so much for being in this panel with us. And thank you, and hope to see you some other time.